raped, beaten, and mentally abused by 2 inmates.
Come and fly away with me. 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 Come and fly away with me.
What's good, everyone? It is your girl Erica, actually known as melanin.darling. That is my Instagram. So if you have an Instagram, it is below on the screen here somewhere, so go ahead and follow your girl. This video was requested because I did mention in my past video that I did work at a prison. Now let me make a disclaimer. I only worked at the prison for 2 weeks, so I'm just going to tell you guys my experience. It's a lot of nurses out there who worked at a prison or a jail for years, and they may have more information than me, but this is just my personal experience. Let's get into the video. First thing first, the prison was so far out from my house, so far out from anything. It was like an hour drive there and an hour drive back. The hour drive is not so bad, I can do that. It's just that it was in the middle of nowhere. You know, it's a prison, so they don't want to put it next to communities, which I completely understand, but it just was like driving to the middle of nowhere. You know, like in a scary movie? Yeah, that's how I felt driving to the prison. So that was one thing about the prison. Number 2, you could not bring your cell phone in. Now, those of you who are attached to your cell phone, you just would not survive it. You have to leave your cell phone in the car, or I don't know if they had some place you can put it or give it to someone in the facility, but I wasn't doing that. So I would have to leave my cell phone in, and being without a cell phone and you have children is scary. You're completely separated from the outside world. It's almost like you're in jail with them. So it wasn't no being on social media when you had downtime, or looking up stuff on the internet, or texting your husband or your wife. It just was not any of that. You had to carry your lunch in your containers that you put your food in. It all had to be clear. So you would have to buy you a clear lunch bag. They would have to see what's in your bag. It was a long wait when going through security, so you would have to get there earlier than your shift starts so that you can get through security, because they would have to search you. You have to walk through the metal detector. You couldn't bring anything in, whether it be a comb, a hairpin, anything like that, because it was considered contraband. This one right here I was kind of about, because they would have the inmates who are on good behavior pick us up and drive us to our cell blocks of where we're supposed to work. Now I know the inmate is on good behavior, but it just wasn't sitting right with your girl. Felt like I was locked up during my shift, because you're within those walls right with the prisoners. You don't have no communication to the outside world. You don't know what's going on during your shift. If my family wanted to get in touch with me, they would have to call the prison, and then when they call the prison, it goes through so many people on phone before it gets to you. When leaving, they would have to check the trunk of your car, make sure there's no inmates in there trying to escape. If you get on lockdown because there's a issue with inmates probably taking someone hostage, or just some crazy plan breaks out in the yard, everyone's on lockdown and you're not leaving until you're off of lockdown. The trainer did tell me about drama that went on in there, as far as CO sleeping with the inmate. Yeah, I don't know how that works, but yeah, you do hear about that in the prisons. This is how the med pass went. It would be so many inmates that would line up to the nurse's office. And in the nurse's office, on some days, the doctor would be there. I believe maybe 2 days a week. And then we would have one correctional officer in there. The correctional officer could be a 100-pound female with mace, and I don't know what else she had, but she didn't have a gun. Or it could be, you know, about a 200-pound male, still with mace, no gun, and whatever else they're allowed to carry, but they're not allowed to carry a gun. So that would be your protection, the correctional officer. You will have about, I don't know how many inmates line up to the nurse's office, and you have to pass the meds really fast, because you would have to get them out within a certain amount of time. You had a time slot to where you had to do everything. The nurse that was training me, she was on top of her stuff. Like, she was very quick. Here, you move out the way. She was getting the meds out. So then after that med pass, you would walk out to the yard, And in the yard, it's a lot of inmates walking around you. So it's you and the correctional officer. Walking around you is the inmates. Yeah, what's up, what's up? And when I got there, they gave me a nickname. Now, in jail, in prison, you think like, oh, they just locked away and they not doing anything. This is when Empire was hot. So they were all on the Empire episodes. So the nurse who was training me, her name was Cookie Lion, and my name was Boo Boo Kitty. So when we were walking in the yard to go to the lunchroom, it was so many inmates around me. Hey, Boo Boo Kitty, yeah, you Boo Boo Kitty, what's up, girl? It was just crazy. So you would go through the yard, you would go set your cart up in the lunchroom. The lunchroom has this big metal door, and the CO would be your protection. Now, one day when I was by myself without the nurse who was training me, I had a CO. He was cool, but he was very playful. So I went to set up in the lunchroom my med cart, and it was already 3 inmates inside the lunchroom. He was playing with the inmates outside of the lunchroom, like play fighting with them, the correctional officer. So the door closed and I was locked inside the lunchroom with 3 inmates, okay? Now, they didn't do anything, but just think, what if, you know? But CO, he hurried up, realized the door closed, and he unlocked the door and came in like, you okay, you okay? But I'm like, dude, are you serious? This is not recess, okay? The inmates will start to line up there. It can't be anyone behind you when you're passing meds. So the CO's job is to keep the inmates in check, keep them from going behind me. After that, we will go to the locked unit where the inmates are on complete lockdown 24/7. You would have to give them their medicine through the cell. So that was my med pass experience in the prison. And then also when you are passing their meds, you can see why they were in there. It was a lot of guys in there that were serving life in prison. So it's like, oh, if they do anything to me, they ain't got nothing to lose. So that was another thing I kept in the back of my mind. People were in there for murder, rape, and it was just so crazy to see everything. One thing I didn't like, the woman who was training me, she told me one day, we walked past a yard and it was this dude looking at me or whatever, and she was like, oh yeah, that's the leader of this yard right here. The inmate who runs the yard. Everyone listens to this inmate. And what she said to me, I felt uneasy too, because she was like, you get on his good side, then you good, because if he tell them to do something to you, they gonna do it. Okay, yeah, that was enough for me. Yeah, that's enough, chief. Okay, and how you gonna tell me that my safety is in the hands of an inmate? No, negative. I'm good. I'm good, okay? Yes, they try to make it as safe for the nurses and staff as possible, but honestly, you can't really control every day. There's always gonna be an inmate who tries something crazy. If you're thinking about doing nursing inside a prison or a jail, I'm not saying it's all bad. It's some nurses who like it, who like the workflow, who are, you know, they're able to do it. But for me, I just felt like, okay, why am I putting myself in more risk than I have to be by choice? Because let me tell you, if you want to work in prison or jail, do your research before you go work there. Now, why did I do my research after the fact? I don't know, slow child, slow. If I would have did my research before, I would have known that years ago there was a hostage situation there. Two inmates took a female correctional officer hostage. It was the longest prison hostage crisis in American history. She was raped, beaten, and mentally abused by 2 inmates. They played her like an animal, telling her when and where she could pee, and as they held a gun to her head and promised to blow her away. I looked this up after I worked there for 2 weeks. And then, not to mention, I just researched yesterday when I was looking for this hostage story, because this was the hostage story that I researched after I left. But yesterday, it was another hostage story there that happened in 2019. I'm not saying that the prisons are unsafe. I just felt like it wasn't for me. They do have safety protocols in place that can protect you, but this is the world we live in. You never know what's going to happen. So I advise you, if you want to work in a prison or jail, just to do your research. You know, ask yourself, is this something you want to do? Because people take risk every day in different types of jobs, you know? So it's just up to you if that's the type of work you like. I'm not here to steer you from that direction. I'm just telling you what was my experience, what was my thoughts, and why I didn't stay there. But that doesn't mean you can't handle it. I respect all the nurses, all the correctional officers, everyone, librarians, everyone who works in the prisons and in the jails. I respect you all. I know it's a tough job to do, and I salute you guys. Hats off to you. Please like this video, share, comment down below any suggestions, any videos you would like to see. Subscribe to this channel if you want more. I will be doing a lot more nursing related videos, vlogs, hauls, story times, and your suggestions. Thank you guys for watching.